Hello everyone, this is Steve from Financial Python, and I wanted to make this video to show you how to set up logging in Python. This isn't necessarily a video on finance or anything finance related, but I will say that every single script that I run has some sort of logging associated with it, built into it. I'm a big proponent of logging. I feel like it helps me debug errors when there's any errors, and it helps me kind of just review the scripts to make sure that they're behaving the way I want them to behave. I don't just actually create them, I actually store them in AWS so I can review them. I'm not going to show that in this video. This is just going to be how to set it up. So, it can help you debug any errors or anything like that you might be having in your script. So let's get started here. I just created this new folder, and I'm just going to create a file in it. I'm going to call it main.py. That's what I always like to call all of my scripts, I guess, the file that I'm going to call. So I'm going to create a method called main, and I'm just going to say print in main just so I know I'm in here. And I'm just going to set this up, that method up to run whenever the script is loaded. Okay, so I have my command line. I'm just going to make sure that, let me zoom in so you guys can see this better. Oh, I don't know why I brought that down there. So yeah, I just want to make sure I'm running. Okay, in main, that's good. Okay, so luckily for us, to make this easy, Python has a built-in logging package just called logging, right? Very simple. So I'm going to import that, and then I'm going to create a global log variable. So I'm going to say logging.getLogger. Set that equal to a variable called log. And then within my main method, so I'm going to create another method. So I like to keep all my logic as separate as possible. So I'm going to create another method called logging handler. So I'll just say in logging handler, just so I don't have any errors there. And from my main method, I'm going to call that. Okay. Now, what do I want to do in this logging handler? So the first thing I want to do is set the log level. And to do that, I'm going to call logging.getLogger.setLevel. And I'm going to set it to logging.debug. So there's several levels that we could log at. There's debug, there's info, there's warning, there's error, and there's critical. Debug is the lowest level, which is good, and it means that we're gonna log everything. So if I set the logging level to critical and I just logged a warning or a debug statement, it's not going to write to the file because my logging level is critical. So basically, with logging, we're only getting the levels that are above each level. So the order that it goes in is debug, info, warning, error, critical. So if I set to debug, I'm capturing every single level. So that's the first thing we're going to do. The second thing is going to be to store the logs. So to do that, we would have some sort of variable. We usually have this in some sort of config, but just for the sake of this video, I'm just going to have it be in a folder called log folder. Not very creative. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to say if not, I need to import OS. Let me do that. So OS just stands for operating system. And what I'm doing is just checking to see if this file already exists, because if the folder already exists, because I don't want to recreate it if it already exists. I just want to put the latest log in there. So I'm going to say if not path exists, then I'm going to say make directory, log directory. And then what that's going to do is create a folder for me called log folder if it doesn't already exist. So I just run that again. We can see that folder generated. That's great. And then there we go. Get back to the top. I run it again. You can see it doesn't regenerate because it already exists. So that's good. We're running smooth so far. Okay. So the next thing is I'm going to set up the logging handlers. And I'm going to set up two handlers. I'm going to set up a stream handler, which is basically saying logs are written in real time. So logs written in real time. So as the script hits a log statement in the code, it's going to write that to the file in real time, which is what we want. You know, if we're trying to monitor something as it's happening, then we're going to want to see those logs right away. So to do that, I'm going to create a variable called streamHandler and set it equal to an instance of logging.streamHandler. And then I'm going to set a formatter, which I have to first generate actually. So let me actually do that. That's the next thing I need to do, is actually set my log format. And the log format is basically just saying, like, how do we want the log statements to display as they're coming in. So how I would want it to display is, let's see, with first the time. So if I do ASC time, that's saying that's giving me the timestamp, and then I want the level name. Which would say, you know, if it's a debug, if it's an error, if it's a critical, you know, I want to know that as well. And then there would be the module. And again, this is, I could format this however I want. This is just how I like to do it. You guys can do it however you want. I just want to give you, just kind of giving a big example with a lot of different values. The module is going to be the file that it's in. And then we're going to see, I can put, you know, some stuff in between. Like if I want to do a colon here, then I'm going to do the line number. And then I'm going to do the message, like what the actual error is. Okay, and these are just the variable types. So like D would be, you know, double in this case. So so with that, I can take that log formatter or a log format variable, and I can set it into a logging. I can use it as a parameter in a logging formatter instance, and set that as. Oh, I'm sorry, I did this wrong. This is actually supposed to be here. So set formatter. So I could set that as the formatter on the stream handler. And then what I'm going to do is call logging.getLogger.addHandler. Stream handler, the stream handler we just created. Okay, so again, so now we have a stream handler generated, which is saying this is that we want the logs to write in real time. And then we need to figure out where do we want them to write to. So we want them to write to a file. So file, we want to set up, to accomplish that, a file handler. Write the logs to a file, right? Okay. So to do that, we need to have a log name. And I like to set it to the date time, like a timestamp. I like to have that in the name, so it's easier for me to figure out what, you know, if I know an error occurred at this time, I don't want to have to look through a bunch of logs. I could, if I have a folder with a bunch of logs, because, you know, the script ran different times, I want to easily be able to identify which one contains the error. So to do that, I'm going to import datetime. Again, and these are all just standard Python packages. This isn't anything new here. So I'm going to say datetime now. And I'm going to say string from time, and I want the year, the month, the day, and then an underscore, and we'll do the hour, the minute, the second. We don't have to get this granular, but, you know, just giving examples here. So then I'm going to create another variable called log file, and basically, which is, you know, essentially going to be the name with the folder as well. So I'm just going to set that either equal to an f string. So we'll say log directory, and I already have the slash. So then I'm going to call, then I can call the file whatever I want. So I'm going to say log. Yeah, I mean, really, this, hold on, date time, we'll call that. And then this will be log file name, because, yeah, just so that makes a little bit more sense. So we'll say log datetime dash datetime dot log, right? Just didn't mean to close that. Okay, so we have a log file name. So then from there, we can create a file handler. And we're going to set that equal to logging.filehandler. And we'll pass in that file name. And then same thing, we're going to set a formatter to logging dot formatter. We'll use the same format. Okay, so we'll say logging dot get logger dot add handler. Oops, forgot my brackets. Handler, file handler. Okay, so now we have both of our handlers set up. So from there, remember we created this global logging variable. So from this main method, I should be able to just say log.info. We'll say the script has started, right? And let's run this and see what we get. Okay, and we see that that log streamed right here as well. So we see the datetime, like we said, the log level, which is info, the module, which is just a class that it's in, so it's the file it's in. So we're in main. We're at line 41 where we debugged, and we have the message. The script has started. Let me let me just put some separators in between all these, just so it might be a little easier to read those. But also, let's open and look at this. We have a log. So we have a log file that generated and contains this log. So that's great. So, I mean, our logger is basically set up. Let me just show a quick example of how we can use it when we're working with a project that has multiple files. So let's say we have another file called second file. I'll just create a method called another method. Very fancy. And you see, I can actually pass in the log variable as a parameter. So I could say, hold on 1 second. So you see this log is a parameter, and I can run the same log.info, and I could call that from, let's say we're calling it from the main. Oh, I need to import it. So let me actually import this from second file, import another method, and I could just run another method and pass in the log. So the log that we generated here, we're able to pass that into any other file that's part of this project, and we should be able to run run this the same way. And let's do that and see what that looks like. Okay, and you see second file. So now you see the module piece is second file. So now this is telling us this log generated from the second file, like we see here. And to this point, I've just been showing info examples, but let's go into that second file, and let me just run an iterator, just so we can see a bunch of logs generate. Kind of see what that looks like. We'll say log.info. Here is the number. Iterator. So playing around, so I'm just throwing in a bunch of log statements. Here is an error. Warn. Okay. Again. Boom. So you see, oh, did I not make that an F string? I did not. Whoops. So let's run that one more time so that looks a little better. Okay, so I just wanted to show we see a bunch of log files, or I'm sorry, log statements generated. We have the second file. As you can see, they're all on line 5, which makes sense. And then under here, we have an error and we have a warning. So, just showing the different examples of the different types of errors we can show. And if I go into my log file, you can see that's kind of helpful because it, makes them different colors. So, if I'm scrolling through and this all looks normal, and it's like, boom, different color. That's something that's going to capture your attention and just help, again, if you're debugging an error. So that's it. That's really all I wanted to show. Again, logging is something that's very important to me. I have it as part of all of my scripts. It helps me to, again, if there's any errors, I can this is how I'm going to resolve them. I'm going to read through the logs and see what's going on, and then I can use them to help me, debug and fix the error. But I'm also going to read them just to, again, make sure that my script is doing what I want it to do. So as I'm building something, I'm constantly logging, I'm in this method, here's the parameters, I'm in this method, here's the output. And this way I can assure that the methods and classes and scripts are all doing what I want them to do. So definitely encourage logging, and hope you guys got something out of this video. Thank you, and I'll see you later.